Hey guys, it's Jamin Kirkwood with Secure Financial Management, and I'm here for part two of our video series that we're doing here about kind of what's been going on in the markets in the last few weeks, maybe 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, but also what we're looking at going forward and some of the big concerns that a lot of people have, and I'm sure you share right now as well, as far as what does the future hold? Are we heading into recession? Is there something we should be getting ready for? And I want to take a little bit of time to focus on that. Now, some of my eagle-eyed viewers, they might be noticing, hey, that's the same shirt that he wore in the last video. Does he wear the same shirt every day? No, I just shot this video right after the last one, but I wanted to break it up and kind of put the information out in smaller pieces. That's how I interpretate and digest information easier, so I want to do the same for you as well. Okay, let's get back on topic though. Let's talk about recession. And I ended saying there's going to be a recession. But there's more to it than that. And the reason I want to talk about that is over the last few months, recession, when are we having a recession, things of that nature were some of the highest Google searches that were showing up in their search engine. It's because everybody was worried about it, understandably. Okay, and let me talk a little bit about why I think that's the case. Of course, a recession's always scary, but I think people have a trauma that still exists with them from 2008. Now, 2008, I'm sure a lot of you remember that. You remember looking at your 401ks or your investments. It was pretty horrific watching that play out. That was a severe recession. I would almost go to the stage of saying it definitely wasn't a depression, but we might have been on the border of that, right? So a recession is technically 2 quarters of negative growth. That's what a technical term for a recession is. There isn't really a defined term for a depression, but it's a prolonged economic downturn, income goes down, employment or unemployment goes way up. It kind of sounds like 2008, right? So okay, it wasn't a depression, but a very, very severe recession, let's call it that. And because that was so severe, and we all saw our investments affected so badly, probably you saw your investments cut in half. That was very common. If you were pretty heavily invested in the markets, the S&P, international, small and mid cap, things of that nature, you probably saw your investments go down by half. And I really think that that is still in the minds of a lot of investors, understandably, okay? But what I want to talk to you about is that recessions aren't always that severe, right? You've been, if you're 50, 60 years old, you've been through several recessions before, right? There was a recession at the beginning of the 2000s. There was a recession in the early 90s. There were many of them that you've been through before. They just weren't so severe as the 2008 recession. So there's a lot of trauma still going on from that, understandably. I would propose, we could definitely see something like that. That's possible that happens, right? I think it's more likely that whenever that time comes, it's not another 2008, right? It's a regular sort of recession that's played out in the past. It's not fun, but it's not a 2008 situation, okay? So that's the first thing. I just want to kind of plant that seed of, yeah, nobody likes recessions. It doesn't mean it's going to be a 2008 situation all over again, right? The chances are we have a regular run-of-the-mill recession. Okay, that's part one. The second thing I want to talk about is the concern around when's this next recession, I think is heavily built on the fact that, hey, we've been in this expansion for 11 years or so, right? I would say it's more like 10 years. Some of the economists say 11. I would say 10 years because the market bottomed in March of 2009, so we're a little bit past 10 years, not quite at 11 years yet. But it's the longest expansion in the history of the U.S. economy. Aren't we due? I would encourage you to not look at time and length that we have to have a recession at every sort of period. And this is the reason I say that. Okay, a lot of you guys know I'm from Australia originally. Australia technically hasn't had a recession for 28 years. Sounds crazy. Go and Google it, look it up. I know it's hard to believe. If I heard someone say something that outrageous, I would have a hard time believing it as well. Go and look it up. They technically haven't had a recession for 28 years. So the time frame, hey, recessions have to happen every 5, 7, 10 years, whatever, that's kind of irrelevant. Don't focus so much on that. As I always say, focus on the fundamentals, all right? Do we have a tight interest rate environment? Not really. You can get 30-year home loans for 3.5%, 4%, all right? If you want a job, can you find one pretty easily? I would say most people would say yes for that. Our wages going up in most cases. I don't think they're spiking uncontrollably, but there's definitely some wage pressure going up. Look at the different factors that go into what leads to a recession, not the fact that it's been long enough, it must be time to have one. Okay, guys, I hope that's helped out. I know it's a little bit of a longer video than normal, but the recession concern is something that a lot of people have, and if you feel apprehensive about that as well, you're not alone. Everybody's concerned about it. It's not something we're brushing off. We're actively planning portfolios for the things that are happening in the economy and making moves based on that. But don't focus on the fact that time must equal recession. Time must equal X, right? That's not the way it works. Guys, I hope this has been helpful. Again, none of this should be taken as an investment recommendation. If you have any questions about your investments or your portfolio or your financial planning, please give us a call here at the office, 210-428-6250. We'll talk to you then.